Hello YouTube and welcome back to my channel Public Void Gig. This is Sanam and today we are going to talk about Firebase Authentication. Firebase provides a lot of authentication service like you can authenticate using email and password or just email link or GitHub, Twitter, Facebook, Google, phone. So we are going to explore all these providers one by one. However, right now in this video we are going to focus on email and password authentication in your iOS Swift app using Firebase. So let's get started. Alright guys, I have created a blank project. It's a single view application and nothing much, just a single view application with the name Firebase Authentication. And actually I recorded this part as well of creating the project, but the laptop crashed. Seems like some problem with Mojave. And yeah, so head over to firebase.google.com and sign in with your Google account and or pretty much any other email ID. Using your email ID or password, you can log into Firebase. It's a free service for up to certain users and the resource consumption that you can check on Firebase website itself. And once you're on firebase.google.com, let me just show you. So this is the page that you're going to land up on, and then you'll have sign in option over here. And once you sign in, click on go to console. So this is your console page where you will add your projects, multiple projects that you might have or you will have in future for your Firebase, or you already have probably, I don't know. So click on add project and let's call it Firebase Authentication. You can keep it separate from your Xcode project name. There is no mandatory policy or rule that you need to keep it same. For the project name, you can keep it separate, but just for reference and for ease of use, I'm just putting it the same name. For location, you can select your country. I'll select India. And then accept and create project. So we need to install CocoaPods for Firebase to work with our application, and let's do that now. So let's close our Xcode, and this is done. So click on continue, and this is your Xcode, the Firebase project. We'll come back to this later on. Let's go to terminal and head over to our project, which is on desktop, Firebase Authentication, and let's do pod in it. So as you can see right over here, it says add Firebase to your iOS app. This is what we need. So let's click here, and it's asking for the bundle ID. Let's go back to our Xcode. Okay, let's do pod install. So we are just initializing everything right now in terms of CocoaPods. So it doesn't have any pod right now, but we just need the bundle ID and other stuff for it to work, right? So let's open it now. Firebase.exe workspace. This is the file that you will get. Let me open it in the Finder. So as you can see, this is the new file. After doing pod install, this is what you will get. So open this file in your Xcode. Right, and this is the bundle ID that we need. Head back to the browser and put the bundle ID. This is optional. This is optional. I'm just going to put Firebase Auth. Register this app. It's free. You don't need to pay anything as long as you stay in the free limit or the free tier. Okay, download this Google service -info.plist file, and it got downloaded. And for some reason it is asking me to download again, so I'll download it and then click on next. And before that, the file that we downloaded, we need to put it in our Xcode project. So head over to downloads, and this is the file. So just drag and drop right over here. Make sure copy items if needed is selected. Or hang on, just open this one and let's put it under info.plist. Right, right over here. So copy items if needed is selected and your target is selected and finish. And we have our Google service info.plist file in our Xcode project now. Let's go back to Firebase. It says pod init we have already done. It's asking for one CocoaPod to be installed. So let's go to the pod file here and let's do this one. Along with this, we also need to add one more CocoaPod that Firebase will tell us to do later on. It will tell us to add this pod later on. It's for the authentication, but we're going to add it right now. So it's called pod Firebase -auth. All right. So these are the two pods that we need. Do command save and command S. Close this and let's do pod install again. So pod has been installed. Let's do .xc workspace and do a command B, that is to build your project, so that it will compile the Firebase Auth as well as the Firebase core. So this is done, pod install is done. Let's click on next. Okay, now it says that we need to initialize our Firebase authentication, the Firebase itself, and we need to make sure that the connection has been established between our device and the Firebase server. So let's do that. Let's copy this import Firebase line and go back to our project, click on app delegate, and just under import UI kit, let's paste this import Firebase and let's do command B again. Done. The next line that we need to copy is this one, which will initialize the Firebase and make sure the connection, or it will connect to the Firebase server as soon as the application is launched. So we need to copy this in did finish launching with options. Just above return true, we will paste this one and command B again. And let's try to run the project now. So you will see this blank screen, which is totally fine. Let's go to next, and it will check the authentication, and it will check not the authentication, but it will check the connection with the app. So we can see it says congratulations, you have successfully added Firebase. So the server connection was successful, and let's click OK. So now our device is able to communicate, or our app is able to communicate to the Firebase server, right? So now we need to add the Firebase authentication. It's pretty simple, but first let's set up the UI. Let me expand this. Alright, so let's set up the UI now. We're not going to focus much on UI, just the basic UI that we will use. So text field, right? So constraints have been added. Let's call this sign in. So we have email, we have password, and we have signed in, right? Let's add one more view controller. So after user is signed in, we will segue to another view controller to make sure that the sign in works, and sign out as well, right? So view controller, so the constraints have been added for signed in. Let's put, so this email text, the label, we are going to display the signed in user's email over here, right? Alright, looks like it's all good. Let's also put a segue here. Let's call this segue to sign in. Right, the UI looks okay. We will modify this UI as and when we dive into more deeper stuff in the series, right? So let's head back to view controller. So let's do option plus view controller. So we will have this editor, assistant editor. Okay, so inside the view controller file, let's create some outlets and some sections for variables and then constants, right? And then for the actions, right? So for outlets, we need this one, which is the email outlet. Second one is the password outlet, and then the button is in the action section, and we will add it as sign in button pressed, and let's click on action. Right, so we have everything in place now in terms of UI. So if user clicks on it, this is the function that will be called, and then we will let user sign in, right? Now let me show you the documentation of this so that it becomes easy for you to further explore Firebase. The documentation is very good and very easy to follow. So you just need to click on this go to doc section, and then the documentation will open up. Click on get started for iOS, and right over here click on authentication, and then we need the password authentication. Right, so as you can see, it says we need pod Firebase Auth, so we have already installed that, so we don't need to install that again. And then it is asking us to do that did finish launching with options, Firebase configure. We have already done that, and then the first step that it wants is create a user with email. Okay, so let's do that. Let's head back to this and let's create a function create user. Right, so this will be the function that will, it's like a sign up. So for the first time when user comes onto your app and enters the email ID and password, we will create the user in Firebase database, right? So in order to do this, let's call import Firebase. Just in case if this one is not working, if you're not able to import, make sure that you have built the project command with command B, or you have make sure you have installed the CocoaPod correctly, right? And then let's do auth. This is Firebase function provided to us. Create user with email password. So they have option of creating a user with email password and the completion. This is what we need. So we will provide it the email of type string, and then we will provide it the password of type string, and let's give it here email and password, right? And in the callback we will be getting back the result, and we'll be getting back the error. So this is how we will create a user. So we will pass in the email ID and password to this function, and then it will create the user for us, right? So this is how it will work. So let's first check if error is equal to nil. That means if there is no error when it tries to create a user, if there is no error, then user has been created, or let's say like this, yeah, user created. Also let's do a print and let's say user created, right? So if there is no error, the user will be created and this will be printed off. Else if there is an error, then we will print the error dot localized description, right? So if there is an error, we will see what the error is, else the user is created, right? And what we will also do is, so we will allow our users, if for the first time when they sign up, as soon as their account is created, we will allow them to sign in as well automatically, right? So they don't need to enter the credentials again and again. So we'll do sign in user, right? Just a comment, just a placeholder that I'm putting up right now. So this is how we will create the user. Next thing up is the function to sign in. So we have created, there are two functions on every app or website that you will use, right? One is to sign up and then another one is to sign in, right? So now we will create a function to sign in user, which will again use the Firebase function of auth, and then let's do sign in with email and link, no, with email and password. This is the one that we need, and once again we will provide it the parameter of email string and password string, right? Email, password, and the result that we are going to get this time is the user. We will get back the user. If the sign in is successful, we will get back the user, and if not, then error. So we will say if error is equal to nil, that means if there was no error, then signed in, print user signed in, else print error. Let's print error as well as print error dot localized description, because I want to show you something. All right, so now we have two functions. One is sign in user, another one is creating a user. So the app flow will be like, the user comes to your app, enter his login details, his email ID and password. Our app will check if the user already exists, then we will directly sign in. If that user doesn't exist in the database, we will first create that user in our database and then we will sign in, right? So after creating the user here, we will allow the user to sign in. So we'll, since it's in closure, so self.signin user, and it will be through email and password, right? Okay, let's try it out and let's see what is the error that we're gonna see right now, right? Because okay, let's go ahead and I'll show you the problem that we will have. All right, so in sign in button press, as soon as this button is pressed, we want our user to sign in, not to create user. You don't want every single person to keep on creating a new account, because if they already have an account, you don't want them to create an account again, right? That wouldn't be allowed. So we will first try to sign in the user. So let's do that. Let's call our sign in user, and in the email we will say email ou.text. This is not a good practice to to put this exclamation for the optional. You're unwrapping this optional forcefully. Don't do that. Use guard let, but that's not a part of the video right now. And so password ou.text and like this. So we will make sure that we are entering the correct, we're not leaving it blank, right? Or else the app will crash. So yeah, now let's try to run the app and let's see what happens. So this is our app, and let's try to do 1 2 3 and 1 2 3, and let's do a sign in. So here you can see the error right over here. So Firebase is providing you the errors, and you can use these errors to show the alert view controller, right? So it says invalid email. That means the email address is badly formatted. So let's try again. Let's do 123@123.com, and let's do a sign in. And this time we got another error which says that the given sign-in provider is disabled for the Firebase project. So yes, um, for every authentication provider that we will use, we need to enable it in the Firebase, right? So this is how you enable it. You go to Firebase, inside your project, click on authentication, and then go to sign-in method. So you can see these are the various type of authentication providers that Firebase provides. We are using email password, so let's go here and enable this one. If you want, you can enable this email link and you can try this out using the documentation. I'll be making a video for this as well later on, but for now, just this first one, enable it and click on save. Now let's go back. We will again have an error, so let's try sign in, and this time it says there is no user record corresponding to this identifier. The user may have been deleted, and then it says error, user not found, right? So it is telling us that there is no user like this. So that means if there is no user, we will do a sign up. We will create this user, right? So let's go back here in the code, and right over here we will check if the error says that the user does not exist. If that is the error, then we will create the user first, right? So let's do this. So right over here we will say else if error which is optional underscore code is equal to auth error code dot. So yeah, user not found. This is the one, the error that we are getting, user not found dot raw value. So now we are comparing if the error is equal to user not found. Then let's cut all of this. And let's do create user, right? And then we're gonna provide email and the password, right? So we will create the user now, else we will put back the error codes. So this way you can check different type of errors, and since it's in a closure, so we will call self dot create user, right? So in this way you can check a lot of errors that Firebase provides in the documentation. If you let me just show you the documentation. So right over here in the documentation, handle errors, you can see Firebase provide a lot of error like network not found, or invalid email, invalid password, or the email is already in use. So if user is trying to create an account again, right now it won't happen because our logic works in a different way. But let's say if you have two buttons, one is for sign up and one is for sign in, and the user has already signed up before and he clicks on sign up again. So this is the kind of error that you will be getting, and then you need to show it and handle it accordingly in your app, right? Okay, so now if the error is this, we will try to create the user, and after creating the user we will say user created, and then we will do sign in user, right? And then we will try to do sign in again, and this time the error won't come, so it will say user signed in. So let's try this. Alright, so 123 at 123.com, 123456, and let's do sign in. And right over here, if you go here, it says user created. That means the user was not there in our database, and then later it says user signed in. So user has been signed in as well, right? But this user signed in, we are not storing it anywhere right now, and as soon as we restart our app, the state is gone, so we need to sign in the user again. But let's go back to Firebase and check the authentication in user section, and you can see we have our user email provider. So provider is email, this icon which is coming from here, you can see email or password. This is the provider. So if user has selected Google, it will show Google. If Google user is signing through Facebook, then it will show Facebook icon. So this is when the user was created, signed in, unique ID, and then the identifier, which is the email, right? Alright, so we are on this page now. By the way, you can also try it like this now, 123456123, and it will show a different error, which is the password. Right over here you can see the password is invalid, or the user does not have a password. Right, so Firebase is handling everything for you. You just need to check these error codes and show the correct alert view controller depending upon the error. Alright, so next part. Right, now what we need to do is, as soon as user clicks on sign in, and once the sign in is completed, we want it to segue to the second view controller. Right, so let's do that now. User signed in. Right over here we will do perform segue with identifier, and the identifier was this one. And since it's this self dot, self is okay. Alright, let's try to run and see. We should be able to segue after signing in. So if user is successfully signed in, only then this segue will work. Now let's try 123@123.com, and let's do 123 wrong password, and let's see if segue works. No, it doesn't. It says error, wrong password. So let's go back and let's do 456, sign in, and signed in, email, and sign out. Right, so let's work on this screen now. Let's go back to Alt Option, and right, so we did not create the view controller file for this one. Let's do that. Right click here, new file. Let's call it signed in VC. Create main.storyboard option, this one. Let's select the file that we just created for the storyboard view controller. We would need to import Firebase because we need to get the email of the authenticated user. So import Firebase, and right over here we will also do outlets, variables, and constants. Let's remove this and do actions. Right, so the button actions will go over here, and the only outlet that we need is this one. So let's put this, let's call it email OU as an outlet. The sign out button, let's select it as action, sign out, press connect. Right, so what we want to do is, once the screen loads, we want to show the correct email in the email text email label. So for that, all we need to do is let email is, you can do this in view did load because you want it to be shown as soon as this view is loaded, right? So email is equal to or let's do like this, guard let email is equal to auth dot current user. So whenever you sign in, the session is stored inside current user. Again, this is a service, the function provided by Firebase itself. Current user dot email, and it will come as an optional, so that's why I'm using guardlet as return. Right, so this is done, and then email OU dot text is equal to email. Right, this is done, and then sign out button. Let's go over here and let's check if the email is coming up. Then we will work on the sign out part. So we will do 123@123.com, 123456, sign in. We are here, and you can see the email as well. All right, but if you click on sign out, nothing happens. So let's fix this one now. So if you head back to Firebase documentation, let's go back So right over here at the bottom it says this is how you will sign out from Firebase, the current user that the session that Firebase is storing. So in order to do this, again, very simple thing, but it has to be in do try catch. So let's do and then catch let error as ns error. Just check this one as ns error, and then right over here we will do try auth dot sign out. Right. So we will try this, and if there is error, we will do print error dot localize description. Now, since the user is signed out, we also need to do self dot dismiss true, and completion should be nil. Right. So now when we click on sign out, the user will be signed out, and we will go back to the login screen. Let's check this out again. So 123 at 123.com, 123456, sign in. User has signed in. We can see the email. Let's sign out, and boom, we are gone. Nice. So one more thing that we need to do is when we try to log in, this login page. So I have done 123 at 123.com, 123456, and sign in. Right. So user has signed in. I'm not signing him out. I'm just closing the app, and I'm trying to open it again. And it seems like it has crashed over here. So let's try to run it again. Yeah, so as you can see, every time the app opens up, it's losing the state. We are not storing the state whether the user has signed in or not. So if user has signed in, we want him to segue to the signed in view controller automatically, right? So app should remember that user has signed in before. So in order to do this, we'll head back to our view controller, and right in constant section we will do let uh, user default. So this is a persistent data service that Apple provides, user default, NS user default, that we can store some small amount of data that will be persistent and stored in your device. So even if your app closes, your device reboots, this data is saved on your device. So it will be user defaults dot standard. Right, and then we also need view did appear. Alright, so what we want to do is we want to store something that if user was signed in first time, we will save some data, and then every time the app is launched we will check whether that data is present or not. If not, then we will just ask user to sign in. If the data is present, we will segue the user to sign in screen, right? And the session is stored by Firebase, so don't worry about it. Alright, so this is where the user is signing in. This is where we are performing. So just before performing this segue, we will do user default dot set value true. So we are using boolean true for key user signed in, right? This is the key that we will use, and since it's inside a closure, we will use self, and then we will do self dot user default dot synchronize. So it will synchronize the user default updated, and then let's copy this. Let's head over to view did appear, and let's also select this. Let's do if user default dot boolean for this key. So if this is true, so right over here we are setting it to true, right? So if this is true, then we will perform the segue, which is this one. So this is the segue that we have to perform. So right over here we will do it. Now if user is already signed in before, he will be automatically segued to the signed in view controller. And in signed in view controller we need to do one thing, which is before dismissing we will do self dot we need to set up user default here as well. Then constant let user default is equal to user default dot standard, and then we will do user default dot remove object for key, and this is the key, and then user default dot synchronize. And then so what we did is we are saving the key that if it is true directly go to signed in VC, and if user clicks on this sign out button, we will remove that key for true. We can either set it to false, we can do that, or just remove it completely. And then we are again saving it, synchronizing in the user default, so that next time when user opens the app, he will be asked for the credentials. Let's check it out now. So this is the app. Let's do 123 at 123.com, 123456, sign in, and user has signed in. Let's try to run this app again, and let's see this time if it asks for the authentication. Voila. So the app is recognizing the user, it's remembering its user, and it's not asking for the authentication again. However, if I click on sign out, I come to this, and if I go to export and run the app again, see, Let's try to create one more user. 1 2 3 4 5 6 5 at 123.com. 1 2 3 4 5 6 and sign in, and user is signed in, and we will try to run, and user is signed in again. And if we go back to Firebase, we will be able to see, let's refresh this, we'll be able to see both the users. Oh, right over here. So both the users are available. We can reset their password, we can disable their account, we can delete their account. Again, a lot of functionalities are available, guys. And for this video, this is the only thing that I wanted to show you guys. In the next video, we will look at some other sign-in method options like phone, Google. Let's try Google for the next video, and I'll teach you how Google sign-in works, right? And we will keep this sign-in as well. So we will have to do some changes in our UI in the sign-in page. So we'll shift this little bit up, and then we will add the Google sign-in as well, right? All right, guys. That's all for this video, and if you have any questions, please do ask them in the comment section. Please do like this video, subscribe to the channel, and please share this video and the channel to your friends and family. Please support the channel, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye bye.